Hey everybody, what's going on? Back at you with a video on a Thursday, not the weekend, so the weekday. Reason for filming a video earlier in the week rather than later in the week is because I have a busy weekend ahead of me. So I came up with my video topic for today, which I'm very excited to be sharing with you. Today's topic is just going to be talked about in one take. This is the first take. This is going to be the only take. Don't want to jinx myself. Knocked on wood there, or that's real wood. Anyways, the video idea for today is the benefits that I have seen from running a marathon. A little backstory. This is an interesting marathon that was done. It was done just under 2 months ago. I ran it off of 4 weeks of training, going no more than 20 miles per week. I'm not exaggerating when I say that, and I don't say that to come off as sounding braggadocious, anything like that. It's to share and show you that although not doing what I did and actually training more is the much more recommended and smarter idea, you can still push yourself to go the extra mile, no pun intended, that you didn't think you'd be able to go with enough willpower. I should also note that I come from a background of athletics, specifically endurance running. So I didn't feel like I had to train as much because I had that base of running training for years underneath me as a foundation. I have gained a fair amount of weight, mostly out of muscle, since then, but weight is weight and it slows you down. So it was still an impressive accomplishment nonetheless, but I learned some things that I want to share with you today. The first one being that running grit oftentimes transfers over to real world success. I was at a pharmacy about a year ago, and the pharmacist that I was talking to, the head pharmacist there, was a former runner. He ran in high school distance, he ran in college distance, and we got into the conversation, and this conversation kind of made its way into the bullet point that he postulated basically that people who do long distance running specifically, other types of running, sure, it still requires a lot of discipline. But being under that amount of physical exertion and physical pain for that duration seems to bring some of the brightest minds in high school. The cross country team had the highest GPA of the school. Sure, we were nerds, whatever you want to call it, still. And some of the most success later down the line. So he's an example, right? He's a pharmacist. He's the head pharmacist, making a good living for himself. That's not everything. But people who run oftentimes see that motivation and that success that is achieved in running fuel other areas of their life, transfer to other areas of their life. That's one of the really cool things about running, and something that I saw from doing the marathon itself in one instance is that the running grit, the grind that it takes to run long distances under a lot of pain can be redirected towards productive measures, working on yourself in a multitude of ways, some of which I've already discussed on this channel, so I'm going to gloss over that. I've got a lot of other bullet points too. Want to keep this video not too long. The next point is something interesting happened to me at mile 25. Basically the last mile. I had 1.2 miles left. A marathon is 26.2 miles, and right at mile 25, I hit the wall, as it's called, if you've ever heard of that. It's running. It's also called bonking. Some people call it bonking. It's scientifically when your muscles run out of stored, readily available glycogen or glucose, sugars basically, that are stored in the muscle that can then be used for immediate fuel. I ran out of that and I had some of the worst, most painful cramps I've ever felt. It was some of the most physical stress I've ever been under, and some of the most physical pain and exhaustion I've been under. That's essentially what hitting the wall is becoming physically exhausted. I was able to push through that for the last 1.2 miles. But one of the greatest lessons that I learned in the pain in the midst of bonking, hitting the wall, running out of glycogen stores, whatever you want to call it, is that there's so much beauty that lies on the other side of struggle, pain, and discomfort. That ties back to the first point, in that a lot of people who run, who understand the physical discomfort, have that in other areas of their life. They're able to apply that in other areas of their life. But being under that magnitude of stress was extremely humbling. It made me realize that I'm not immune to almost failing. And more than physically, the psychological benefits and effects that I felt as a result of hitting the wall were massive. One of the other big benefits that I saw in bonking is getting outside of your comfort zone, which I was physically, mentally, you know, in. I was out of my comfort zone, rather. When you get out of your comfort zone, you manifest things that you didn't think you'd be able to manifest. You achieve things that you didn't think you'd be able to achieve. And unfortunately, but fortunately, getting outside of our comfort zone is required to reach our maximum potential. It wouldn't be our maximum potential if it was easy, if it didn't require a lot of effort. Aren't you curious to see if you apply the most effort than you can, the most effort that you can? Aren't you interested to see how far that'll take you in whatever, in school, in work, in hobbies, with relationships? That doesn't apply as much with the relationships. Romantic, that is. Platonic, familial, of course. But that's besides the point. Getting outside of your comfort zone is key, even in romantic relationships, especially in romantic relationships, to reach your maximum potential. It's scary to do, but once you see yourself pushing yourself as hard as you can, and the benefits that come from that, there's no going back. I can't go back. I won't go back. It's powerful stuff. Next, reaching the finish line. I put that in quotes because there's really no finish line. If you want to get super deep and philosophical, of course there's a finish line, right? We all know when the finish line is. It's when you don't continue living. But my point here is reaching the finish line of your goals, dreams, mission is fun. It's hunky-dory. Not only is it that, it's amazing, right? But I didn't have the most satisfaction when I reached the finish line in the marathon. I had the most satisfaction when I pushed through the most difficult part of the race, which was at the end, getting to the end, sure, but not actually reaching the end. It was going through the struggle. It was continuing through that struggle when I didn't think I would be able to, and it was emerging on the other side. Notice how emerging on the other side was not the highlight. It was a highlight. It was not the highlight. The highlight was being able to push myself further than I thought I would ever be able to do. I challenge us, I challenge myself, challenge you all to look at life in that way. To not look at life as let's get to achieving this goal we've set for ourselves. Let's get to the point where we've exceeded our expectations. Maybe that is in the goal, but it shouldn't be a result of getting the goal. It should be the process that went into it. That's why I named this channel Enjoy the Journey. It's something I have to remind myself all the time because it's something that's very hard for me to do. I get wrapped up in the nitty gritty, and sometimes you have to zoom out and look at our lives or parts of our lives with a 10,000-foot view, as my friend puts it. We have to look at it with an eagle's eye view to see that the beginning is the beginning, the end is the end. That's cool. Those are points in time, and they're very important. But what about all that space in between the beginning and the end? That takes up the most time. that takes up the most effort and energy. And that's most of our story. So why would we want that to go away? Why would we want to rush through that and get to the end? There's no reason. Because if we have enough faith in ourselves, that'll happen. Before I ran the marathon, do you think that I thought that I'd be able to run that distance in a fast time? I, I could share the time. I don't think it's exactly necessary. You can take my word for it. It was a pretty impressive time, especially being relatively muscular and training for 4 weeks. But do you think that I'd even be able to like finish that at all, regardless of pace before the race? No, of course not. It was something the further I went, the more I realized, okay, I'm going to do the whole thing. It's that journey that developed me. It was not getting to the end. That getting to the end felt glorious. Believe you me. But all of the 26.2 miles that led to reaching the finish line, especially mile 25, like I already said, were what was the exciting part. So I don't want to drone on too much more. Those points that I brought up were really cemented. It's not the first time that I'd seen those. I'd already thought some of these points that I brought up in the video, but the marathon, and after running the marathon, I was able to reflect on the lessons that I was taught. And that's what I came up with. Running is a super good hobby. I would encourage it. If you can't run, walk. Do some sort, if you can't walk, do some sort of aerobic activity because it helps your mental health so much. I'm getting off topic here. I could go into all the benefits of running, and it could be a future video idea. But for now, you're just going to have to take my word for it. Thank you so much for listening and tuning into my video. If it was helpful, inspiring, resourceful, please let me know. Let me know through liking the video. Let me know through subscribing. Let me know through comments. Give me future video ideas. I'm always super open to hearing what you all have to say. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon.